Hey everybody, this is me, the Undead Viking, and this is the rulebook to Feudum. Feudum is a delight. I'll just say that right now. Feudum is that rarity of rarities, seemingly right now, that come out in the board game world. This is what seems to be an independent designer, kind of coming out of nowhere, or an independent game company, I should say, and a completely fairly original title that not only incorporates a lot of original ideas, a fairly, I mean, neat theme. I mean, it's about like kind of a feudal society, so it technically isn't an original idea as far as that goes. But I mean, it has this kind of weird, almost like I'm gonna say like steampunky stuff, and you're like, well, that's not original. But I mean, once you see it, you're kind of, get what I say. It's like, it isn't going full bore into like a steampunk world. It isn't going full bore into a feudal world. It isn't going full bore into like a dark and gritty world. It is not. It's like, it's got monsters, like this little sea serpent that you can have that can attack like things by the sea and what have you, and then it has this big giant like behemoth thing that can stomp the ground. So there's like, it's like a fantasy game, but it's not a fantasy game either. So it's like got a really unique theme, which is an amalgamation of a lot of like maybe normal themes, but it is a very unique theme as well. And like I said, it is that kind of rare game that's like a heavy Euro. And I know that most people consider me to be more of a thematic gamer and more of a, I embrace the Ameritrash art or whatever, but I really, really enjoy a nice, crunchy, heavy, or even medium to heavy Euro that actually like makes my brain hurt as I'm playing it while I'm trying to figure things out. And I'll talk more about that in a little bit. But I gotta show you how the game is played. It's gonna take me quite a while to get through everything. I'm probably gonna screw up a few rules here and there, so just kind of bear with me. Well, I'll show you how the game works and looks and what have you, and then we'll come back here and I'll give you my final thoughts about Feudum and just maybe a few thoughts about gaming as a whole, too. Alright, cool. Let's do this. Alright, so this is Feudum, and I'm just going to say right now, thank you, Mark Swanson, for finally making a game board that I actually had to change the direction in which I normally do my videos. So, yeah, like 500-600 of these or whatever. I finally found somebody who gave me this super long game board. So I actually had to put it, like, cause it's actually like longer than like 3 feet, which is the table that I have in my gaming dojo where I do all my videos. And so I had to kind of put it at this angle, as you see. So kudos. But anyway, and since I'm talking about the board, I want to actually talk about the board, not really in detail here, but I just want to say a couple things that I really, really liked about this. So, this is the area that each player will be putting out their different people. That I'm going to be jumping around here a little bit. I will explain how the game is played, kind of an overview here in just a little bit, but just bear in mind. So this is where you will be putting out your different people. You'll be setting up different fiefdoms or feudums, as they're called, and you'll be putting control markers out there, and like your like kind of like your workers, so to speak, are those cubes. And obviously there's like a lot of different spots you can see that have these little tokens on them, and those are randomly placed out at the beginning of the game. And each one of those kind of represents a different thing. Like there's outposts, there's cities, there's farms, and eventually what happens is then if you upgrade a city, you eventually get them to a feudum, which is one of these tokens, and you put those down. And these have these same icons that are on those that you will locate on like these little dice, or those player pawns, if you will. And those icons represent the different guilds that are on the ends of the boards. And unfortunately I can't really see the whole thing, but you can go to both the Board Game Geek page or go to like Kickstarter. Obviously you're probably watching this there, and you can see a much closer look at the game board, so I do apologize for that. But getting back to what I was saying about the board, there's lots of games out there that have boards that are very functional. And the players don't, the information doesn't get lost on them or whatever. Now I'll say this: I think in this case the board here is extremely functional as well. Is it as functional as like a board that with the art and everything like that that is a little less busy, so to speak? No, it isn't. This one, it does have a few stumbling gaps as far as what it is, because the way that the designer has created this with the artwork is that it has incorporated different things within the board to represent what's going on. And like two major examples that I have for this are both this little track up here that you wouldn't really even notice right away from the first time you see it, and then this catapult that's down here, and you see there's these 3 spaces that are over there. Those are both like 2 major things. This is like this fantastic voyage, and basically it's a way for people to get points. When I get into the actual actions that you get to do in your turn, if you do like a double move, you get to move on this little track here, and it gives you rewards. But you see, it's like it's basically like there's this little path that is up in the mountains. So it's kind of like you're going on this explorer's route, and at the very end, there's this citadel up here in the top of the mountains. Now, this could have just been a track that was on the board somewhere, and you just mark off the spots. And I'm, dollars to donuts says that when the designer first made it, it was just that. But they've taken the time to actually kind of incorporate that and make it into the board. And yes, you lose a little bit of the recognizing of certain things. Like, you lose a little bit of the, like, oh, obviously that's that kind of thing. But once you learn the game and play it, it's one of those things where, like, it just kind of keeps giving dividends back, if you will, as far as, like, the artwork and the functionality of the art is really cool. And like the catapult, I mentioned the catapult here, you can kind of see that there's these like 3 spots where these catapult is like shooting at. Well, one of the things is that in the game, and I'll talk about this briefly in a little bit here, one of the things is that making a feudum is a very good thing, because it gives you a lot of control over a guild, it gives you access to different abilities, it gives you like points and what have you, and it can be a very good strategy. However, when you make a feudum, you become like this, you're the king's right-hand man, and the king wants you out there conquering people and using an attack action and attacking other players. And if you don't do that, you'll actually get negative points. And so, like, you can see here, like, you have to continue attacking, and these are the different spots where if you do, you'll place a marker that shows that you've attacked it, but on those little markers there's negative points in each location, which can compound like as the game progresses. If you want to go the route of having feudums, then you better be willing to get your hands a little bit dirty as well, which is something I'll talk about here in a little bit, as far as the whole process of there's lots of ways that you can win. And I know you hear multiple paths to victory all the time, but I just want to say that yes, that is a thing, and it is very, very apparent and a huge part of Feudum. So, alright, so playing the game, this is one of those games that, like, when you first read the rules, you're like, huh? But if you actually have, like, the game board out in front of you and you're walking through a turn, it isn't that difficult. It isn't that tough to figure out. The biggest things that you have to remember are, on your turn, normally, unless you do something weird, you're going to have these cards. And these cards are the same as everybody else's. Everybody's got the same deck of 11 cards. And in this deck of 11 cards, there are all these different actions that you can do. And then before the turn begins, each player is going to pick 4 of those cards, and those are the actions they're going to be able to take on this particular turn. And then once everybody's got those, the first player picks one card, they reveal it, and they take their turn. Now there's a couple of wrinkles that you can do. If you have certain resources, you are able to have 5 actions in which you notify everybody by placing a resource on your little bag here, and you say, I'm going to have 5 actions this turn. And there's even a way that you can do so you can take 2 actions in one single turn. And then also you do the same thing by placing one of your resources on your bag to show that you're doing that. But everybody gets to pick, and you can, if you want, like if you're like the last player and you want to be able to like see if people are going to be like messing with stuff and taking more actions, you can wait for everybody else to pick their cards first, and then like once they lock those cards in, and then you pick your cards. But regardless, you're going to pick your actions, and then you're going to reveal those actions. First person goes, next person goes, next person goes, and so on and so forth, until everybody has shown all of their cards and taken all of their actions. Now, you don't have the option of not taking an action as long as you have a card available to you. However, some actions are unable to be used as the last action of a round, and there's several different things that go on with those. Also, actions have and this is like technically advanced play, but I'll be honest, I never played it without advanced play. Actions are on here, but they also have like an advanced action on them. So in this case, here you have, this is the move action, and it allows you to move one of your people on one of the paths that can go. And I should have talked about the paths really quickly. So you can obviously see there's like roads and what have you. But if you get over into the water areas, it might be a little difficult to see on my video, and I apologize for that. But you can see there's tracks that go from spot to spot. And some of them have like these little bird things that show that they're flying. Some of them have like different things like little bubbles and what have you to show that those are like a submersible, like you're actually using a submarine. And the thing is that you have to actually use certain guilds that allow you to do that. And like one of the guild allows you to build vessels that allow you to travel in different locations, like using a flying ship or a ship or what have you, is the Alchemist, which is over there. But I'll talk more about the guilds and certain actions in just a little bit. Now, if you're looking for a step-by-step walkthrough of a turn, I'm really not going to go through with that because then this video is going to be hugely long. But hopefully you're going to get a good overview of what's going on and all the different moving parts. But anyway, so you have these different actions, and so in this case, like move action just moves you from spot to spot. However, like this one, it says if you happen to have one of your people that is the monk, which is like that thing over there, then you get an extra movement. And it's just, pretty straightforward. And it says here, and it says +1. And so that's just something a little bit extra you can have and you can use to plot your turn. Also, if you have certain people out on the board, so to speak, that kind of gives the players maybe an idea, possibly, of your actions that you might be taking on your turn. All right, so let's go through the different actions you go. So I've shown you the move. Let's go to the next one. This is the migrate action, as you can see there. Now, when you migrate, what this does is it allows you to take one of your people that you haven't put out on the board yet and place it out on the board, or take a person that's on the board and remove them and take them off. Now, the reason you might want to take them off, you say, well, why would I want to take my person off? Well, the reason I want to take them off, the main reason I found, is that they're out there as, in this case, see, like an alchemist. I don't want an alchemist out there. I want a knight, so you would take them off, and then you would have a plan that you would put them out there again that would allow you then to, take them as a knight. So that's the thing. And then the special extra action you have here is that if you have an alchemist out there, you're allowed to, normally you can only place one of these out either where you have a person already or where you have established yourself as far as owning a town or a feudum or what have you. But there are locations you can see that has this little pink circle around it, like so. And if you have an alchemist, you can immediately place one out where that is located. And so you, without having to have one of your people out there or controlling that area. All right. So the next big thing that you're going to be doing a lot of as far as actions is you're going to take an influence action. Now, an influence action allows you, And this is one that you can do twice if you use the special ability to take 2 actions in a row. So here you have that you're allowed to place one of your people, one of your influence markers here, and you can get a hold of more as the game progresses, but then you're allowed to place it and kind of show that you control that particular spot. And that's a good thing, because controlling and having that means that basically you are in control of that spot, and you're going to then build that up, and theoretically, like, taking an outpost, making it into a farm, taking a farm, making it into a city, taking a city, making it into a feudum, and you control that. Now, people can come and attack you and knock you out of there, but they, are still going to be able to, you're still going to have, like, good control, especially if you're the first person to place one down. Now, an action that kind of goes hand in hand with that is the improve action. So when you do an improve, you have to spend a certain resource. In this case, like if you want to go from outpost to a farm, you have to spend a brown, or like a wood. If you want to go from a farm to a city, you have to spend one of the, I think it's saltpeter if I remember correctly, but I just called it a black cube. And then if you want to go from a city to a feudum, you have to have a royal seal. And so if you have those, then you're able to replace the little icon there and improve those. Now, each one of those different types of things has certain abilities that if you activate them, like farms, you can create resources on those locations. Cities, you can tax them. And obviously, with feudums, you can then use those to increase your standing with certain guilds, which will allow you to take advantage of the guild resource kind of circle, if you will, which is a thing that I'm going to get to here in a little bit, but just keep that in mind. That's why you want to be improving the different spots, and also controlling those different spots as well. Now, if you have an outpost, and like that one, you can use what's called an explore action. Explore action, and this kind of good dovetail here. Explore action allows you to get these royal writ cards, and let me just grab those so I can show those to you. Normally, you get to draw 2 and then keep 1. There are certain things that allow you to grab more, but just for the most part, you're going to take 2 of these cards at the top, and you're going to pick one. And so these cards come in 2 different functions. They either give you like a certain ability that you can use at some point, like say, like this one is the bow or crossbow. If you attack, you can use this card, and it just immediately gives you a +1 to your attack. If you want, you can use it as a, if you spend a brown cube or a wood cube, then you can upgrade to a crossbow and give a +2 to attack. It's just a one-time thing. Some of them like allow you to turn in like certain like resources and earn coins for doing so. Others have what's called just end game points. So in this case, let me find one of those. So this one, you can see there's a dead monster on there, and I haven't shown you the monster figures, and I haven't really talked about those yet, but basically you can get monsters that will work for you, and like you can use them to attack. But if like this one is if you kill a monster, it's worth 7 victory points. Now you might notice that over here, there's this little unfinished seal. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to get one of these royal seal resources, and and be able to place it on that, so at the end of the game it actually works. It doesn't automatically happen. You need to get one of those royal seals. And some of them, like this one, just say that depending on how many of a certain certain spots on the board you control, as far as like having influence on those locations, if you do that, then you get bonus points. 3, 5, 7, 9, and so forth. For pulling that off. So. The cards are never a bad thing. The more you have, obviously, the better off you're going to be. You can only have 3 at one time. Keep that in mind. But having those for the extra points, or just to help you in certain situations automatically when you turn them in, always a good idea to have those. And that's what you can do if you have control of an outpost. Now, if you have control of a farm, you can do what's called a harvest action. When you harvest, you get to take. There is a bag that's going to have a bunch of cubes in it, and you're going to be able to draw cubes out of that bag. So here is the harvest action, and you can see here that like normally it's 5. You can see that it says you draw 5, you know, for having control of a farm, and farms are these guys right there. If you're having control of a farm, you have to draw 5 cubes out of this bag here, but you can modify that by having certain things, certain bonuses, including having these like mystical little rosary beads that you can gather, and I'll talk about those in a little bit. And those allow you to draw more cubes out of this bag. Now, the more cubes you get to draw out of the bag, the more, like, there's this option you have. It's called a kickback. And so if you draw 4, and it's kind of tough to see, but if you draw 5, you can have 1 as a kickback, and so on and so forth as you climb the ladder. So, and that means that the cubes, which normally just sit on your farm and actually can be pilfered by other people. If they walk over, they can go ahead and take those from you, which kind of stinks. But normally when you have a farm, like, you try to get it, you try to take those and you try to send them to the farm guild, which is over there, which you then can basically turn those in, and you can get some coins and you know, and some points for your trouble. But if you have the kickback, what you're able to do then is you're able to take the cubes that you draw out of here, which normally you just place around the farm. You get to take those and you get to put them immediately in your personal supply, ready for you to have an access to them, which normally, like, you have to go through like a process of like trading and buying cubes from different locations, taking actions with those different guilds. But that's just you cut out the middleman, so to speak, if you will, with that action. So always, if you have the ability to take that kickback, it's usually a good idea to do so. After that, then, is the city. You can tax. You tax cities as long as however many cities. One city you take 2 coins, and then for each additional city you get an extra coin, and that is just the tax action. But of course you have to have influence over those, and so also you get a bonus coin for every feudum you control. So that's taxation, and that's what the cities give you. And then before I get to the guilds, I'll talk about conquering. So conquering is the way, like I said, you can have, you have to do it. If you have feudums, it's a good idea to do conquering actions, because then you don't get the negative points that you get from the catapult area over there. But conquering allows you to attack another player. Now normally this is just really, really straightforward. It just, you get defense for having influence and having your squares there, and you have attack bonuses for having your squares, your pawns there, and what have you. Or if you have control over the monsters, they can be there and attack. And it's just a situation where the winner is if you attack and succeed, you can take you destroy the people that are there. If you have to have more points, though, ties go to the defender. And the cool thing is that if you think you are in danger of being attacked, you can take a defend action. And this is the one card you can play automatically from your hand, and as soon as you are attacked. And it's just like you just reveal it. It's like the only real interrupt card that you have. And it automatically just gives you a +1. So you'll have lots of times where you have people that are coming in and they just say, well, he's only got a defense of 2, I've got an attack of 3, I get it, no problem. And then you just reveal this card, and then it's done. There's no dice or anything like that. The determination of who wins is just that. It's very deterministic. So if you're worried about there being like any kind of like player elimination or anything like that, or having randomness to the combat, that does not exist. So then, like as I said, there is this repeat card that allows you to repeat actions. You can only repeat actions that actually have the ×2 up there in the top corner like that. And so like you'll see like here, like the Conquered, like actually crosses out the ×2 there. And you'll also see that this one says the Conquer card can't be the last card you play. So so it's just one of those things too where you can count on the fact that when somebody like is like on their last turn, they're not going to use a conquer action on you because they can't do it, because of the fact that they can't use it on their last card. Well, anyway, so, and then the last thing I wanted to show you is this, which is the guild action, which perfectly dovetails into how the guilds work. Now, this is the one part of the game, I'll fully admit, the rest of the game is pretty straightforward. You're going to be moving these guys around. They're going to have the different guilds represented on there. So like you in having them representing that guild gives you like influence within the guild, and influence with the guild is always a good deal because of the fact that it's going to be worth victory points, and also because it allows you to do certain actions within the guild. Guilds are going to have 3 different levels, and well, in a 4 or 5 player game, there's 3 different levels. In a 2-player game, or I mean, I should say in a 2 or 3 player game, then there's only 2 levels. But basically, there is the guild master, and then there's the journeyman, and then there is the apprentice. And so, and you probably can't see this, and I do apologize. Once again, thank Mark Swanson for the giant game board. But there's locations on each of these for those spots. And you want to be the guild master because it shows that you have influence over that particular spot, and then it also allows you to do the best action that you have available to you at that location, which is the push action. But I'll get to that in just a second. The main action that anybody can use at any time in all the guilds is that you can use a trade, which when you trade with a guild, usually it's going to be to get their resources out of them. Whether it is like the resources that are just in the thing, like you can see the cubes over there, or like actually like royal seals and what have you. You take the trade action, and then you take the guild action, I should say, and then you actually then get to take the trade. So in the farmer guild, you can take a food, or you're trading for resources. So with a farmer guild, you can take one food, and that's, you take it directly out of the haversack, or a shilling for every 2 goods you send to the farm. So you have to have goods yourself, and then you send them to it. And shilling is just money. That's the way it is. Merchant goods, you can take 1, 2, or 3 goods, depending on the price that is located on those particular goods. The alchemist, you can buy a vessel for 3 shillings. So if you want to be able to, like, say fly out to these, these places out there, you buy a vessel, and then the vessels are pretty cool. I actually like how it works. Like, you have like this vessel, and you just place them on there, and they fly over. Now, the thing about the vessels is that you don't really control them, so to speak. So if you leave them alone, somebody else can come over and take them. I really like that, because there's a lot of times you'll take a ship or something, and you'll take it and you'll fly it over to here, and then you'll get your guy, and maybe you'll move him all the way over here, and then somebody else will come around and just say, "Huh, flying vessel, thank you," and they can use it. I just think that's kind of neat how the different vessels, you don't carry them with you, because obviously you have to kind of leave them behind, and so to speak, the keys are still in the car, so they can just go ahead and take those and wander off with them. You can then, the Night Guild, you can fill in influence markers. 1 row for 3 shillings. There is a row over here, and I'll talk more about the Knights Guild here in just a little bit. But with the Knights Guild, there's a row of 1, a row of 2, and a row of 3. And so you can, as long as you have the influence markers to give, you can go ahead and get those in there, and for 3 shillings. The Noble Guild, you can do, you can buy 1 or 2 of these royal seals. 1 for 3 shillings, 2 for 6 shillings, and for the Monk Guild, you can buy a rosary bead for 3 shillings. So that's the purchasing of the different things that you have. And I apologize. I think I may have misspoke as far as the Knights Guild. You're not putting stuff in there. You're buying yours out, your influence markers out of there, because that's how you get more influence markers. So I apologize. I misspoke on that. So, all right. So now, bear in mind, I'm going to talk about the push and the pull now. And this is not in a big circle, but it is a big circle. So if you push out of the monks here, it goes over to the farm. Whereas if the monk, whereas if the farm pulls, it comes from the farm. So just keep in mind, the Alchemist Guild and the Knight is touching, and then these 2 are touching as well. It's not obviously, like I said, it isn't a big circle, so it might not be a completely apparent, right, by looking at it. A good way to think of that is a pull is the guild pulls from the guild to its left, and a push pushes to the guild to the right. All right, so, and like I said, this is going to be a little confusing because each of the guilds does not work exactly the same when this occurs. So, like with the Farmer Guild, just also before we go any further, when you pull from a guild as a journeyman, because journeymans are allowed to take that action, when you pull from a guild, you automatically get 3 victory points just for doing it, and you get to do the draw 2 Royal Wit cards, and Royal Writ cards, I should say, and pick one. You get to automatically do that. And so, depending upon how the guilds work, you're just going to be pulling those resources. Now, when you push, what you're going to do is you're going to push resources out of the guild and then into the one to the right, and then you're going to earn 4, 5, or 6 victory points, depending upon how successful that particular action is. Now, I mean, like I said, these rules, I strongly suggest going to read them just because it'll give you a better outlook and a better overview after watching this video to kind of like connect the dots a little bit. But as I said, each one of these guilds interacts with each other in different ways. So, like when you pull from the Farmers Guild, you're going to be pulling these rosemary beads that are off of the monk, and you're placing them on these chickens over there. But you don't just place one on the chickens. What happens is that actually you pick one opponent, you take 2 of them, they go ahead and put 1 in each hand. You pick which hand, and then that one goes to that one goes to the chickens, and all those rosary beads have a different number on their side, so they have different powers. So like this one's +5, and like the one I just moved over there is +3. But on the back you can see it's a royal seal. So this is actually like one that's going to like flip back and forth as far as what they are. So you pull that in there, you leave the other one behind, and then like you get that bonus as far as that is concerned. So, but when you push from the Farmers Guild, you're going to push 5 goods, maximum of 5 goods. You know, if you don't, there isn't enough room in the Merchants Guild for them, then you can't push them out there. You're from the Farmers Guild to the Merchant Guild, and you place the goods in that respective bins. If you can complete rows or columns, you're going to earn 4, 5, or 6 victory points for each row or column that you complete when you do that. So, I mean, that's just one of those things that you'll be doing. And I should mention that each one, and like I said, you probably can't see this because of the way the board is, but so I invite you to look at the board. Each one of the boards, they have very good iconography telling you exactly what each push or pull does, showing you the directions of those different actions. And so it's very helpful, because like if you don't have the rules handy in front of you, you can see that. So I want to kind of get through this quickly so I can kind of tell you exactly how everything works as far as like how the turns end and how the game ends, and as far as that goes. But with the Merchants Guild, you just, like I said, when you trade, you just buy goods from there. When you pull, you draw 3, you pull 3, you complete 1 row. If you complete a row or column, you score 3 victory points, and you get to do the Royal Writ. If you push, you have to move 4 goods, fewer if impossible, to the Alchemist Guild. Place the goods in the right spots. If you complete 1, 2, or 3, because there's different carts and piles, 1, 2, or 3 carts or piles, then you'll earn 4, 5, or 6 victory points for doing that. Moving forward to the Alchemist Guild, if you pull into there, you are pulling actually into these different rows. Each player, up to 5 players, is going to have these different rows. And then when you move 2 goods, I'm sorry, I'm talking about pushing into there, but first of all, for the Alchemist, if you pull into there, you're once again just pulling resources from the merchants into there. Skipping ahead, I apologize for misspeaking. Pushing over into the Knights Guild, or over here. When you push over there, you're going to be pushing 1, 2, or 3 inventions, either vessels or what's called barrels of crude, which are technically gunpowder. So this is kind of an interesting thing. So when you have to actually be able to push a certain number of resources that are allow you to make certain things. So if you want to build a ship, it's 1 food and 2 wood. If you want to build a submersible, it's 1 food or 2 iron. If it's a flying machine, it's a food, it's an iron, and it's a wood. And if you complete 1, 2, or 3 of those, you receive 4, 5, or 6, and then those are available for the alchemist to sell. And so then the players can purchase those. That's another way they can get those. Crud barrels, or I don't know if it's crud or crude, it's Krud, but they're gunpowder if they are invented. And if the creator fills up the leading barrel section in every player's row with their influence markers, and there's excess, not from their personal supply, there's like excess ones. And you'll fill these out, whichever one that they have full. So if they have none on there, they'd only get 1. If they have 1 on there, they'd fill up this one with 2. And if they have all those, you fill up the rest with 3. So when you build that, you're actually helping out everybody. So hopefully when you do it, you're helping out mostly yourself. Because once again, remember, the more influence markers you have, the more you can place those out onto the board, in which case then you can actually show control over more of the land. And so just something to keep in mind. And I actually really liked that part of the game where it was like, it makes for a tough decision. Anytime there's a tough decision in the game, I really enjoy it. Alright, so Knights Guild, after that, you have the Knights Guild can pull, which, same difference, but and they'll push into the Nobles Guild. When they push out of the guild, you push 1, 2, or 3 different colored influence markers to the general supply and exchanges them for king seals, and you place those on the scrolls that are located out here. And you can't peek at the values of them. You just have to grab them from there. You can't look at those. If you complete 1, 2, or 3 rows or columns, once again, because there are rows and columns here, you get those points of 4, 5, or 6, and filling those out. So, moving lastly to the Noble Guild, now we finally kind of made it all the way around. With the Noble Guild, if you push out of the Noble Guild, you are pushing these into the Rosary Beads. You flip them over, and you push them into the Rosary Beads of the Monk. If the sum of the numbers on the Rosary Beads reach 5, 11, or 17, you score 4, 5, or 6 victory points thusly. Alright, so there you go. That is the push. And I realize I skipped over some of the pull stuff, but the pull stuff is just kind of like a lesser version of the pushing, if you will. So, as you can see, what's going to be happening as people are playing, when they control different areas of the board and they have different influence over the different guilds, all these resources are going to be kind of tugging back and forth. And what you're going to be trying to do is you're going to be trying to just maximize those on your turn, and hopefully having as much controlling interest in the guilds as you can, so you're able to do those actions and be able to exert that influence as much as possible. Alright, so after all is said and done, after everybody's taken all their turns, now you have to feed your pawns. You have to feed these guys out there. There's 2 things you can do. You can either feed them a food, which is just a green cube. You just turn that in to the big old bag here, and then you feed those guys. Or, if you want to, what you can do is you can give them, if you've got a sulfur, which is like one of these yellow cubes here. If you got a sulfur, you can go ahead and you put it in your wine barrel. You can take that and you can put that on top of one of your pawns that's out there. And then what this does is that 1 cube feeds them for 2 turns. You're like, well, why wouldn't I do that? Well, the problem is that you get them drunk. And I was like, in the rules, it actually states that sulfur was added to the wine barrels to actually preserve the wine, and that's why they're using sulfur. But anyway, so you actually, and then so the next turn when it happens is that when you have to feed them, you just take that cube off, and you don't have to give them food. But it lasts for 2 turns. However, you're like, well, why wouldn't I do those? Because if you do that, the attack and defense capability of that pawn is lowered to 0 because, well, they've had a snifter of port, if you will, and they're unable to be effective when combat comes around. So after everybody's fed them, and if you can't feed them, obviously you have to remove them from the board. what's going to happen is that you're going to roll this die, which is the progress die, and on each side of these is a different type of different region. So like the small islands is a region, the big islands is a region, these forests are a region, these mountains are a region, so on and so forth. And these are actually located also, and you probably can't see it because they're top, but they're located for designating each one of these particular stacks here. Now, you might notice these all have a 1 on them, because that means it's epic 1 or epoch or whatever, however you pronounce that. Epoch 1. And these particular tiles here on the back have these different locations that as you are improving and getting the slam better, you're going to get access to these depending upon the different locations on the board, and you're going to get to claim these. And then you're also going to be able to take this. This is like an archery, oh no, I'm sorry, this is a silver mine. And so like you are also, as the game progresses, you're able to build like silver mines. There's also like farms in here. No, that's like an archery location, you know. So, and you're able to build these out on the board as well, and actually then have a surf on them to work on those. And so, and these are things that you can place out there with improve actions. But here's the thing: as you're doing those, the more you work on the area and the more you make it better, you will actually speed the game towards the end. And because of the fact that the players can actually kind of, you know, slow things down and not have them happen very quickly, you are forced at the end of each round to roll this die, and then you artificially remove the top tile from whatever spot you roll. So here we have, in this case, here we have like these 2 hills here, or I'm sorry, I believe that is the mountain. So that's this stack here. And so you'd remove that one off the board. And so then you can see there's 2 here. So the way this goes is then, and you probably can't see this, is that when you have, you know, as you remove these and you dwindle down, you will get more, and you'll move forward in the epochs. You know, so like in this case, like we remove those 2. Let's see, 3. Can't grab them. 3 and 4. So now with 4 epoch 2, epoch 2 tiles showing, now we go into epoch 2, and we move forward on you know, whatever, you know, the epoch you're on. There's 5 epochs in the game, and so then the next one is that having 3 epoch 3 tiles showing. So like maybe you know, when it looks like that. Now there's 3 epoch 3 showing, and then when that shows, then we move forward. 2 epoch 4 tiles showing, and finally, if you have 1 epoch 5 showing, then that will signify the end of the game. So at the end of a round, you pass the starting player marker to the next one, and then take up all your action cards and you begin a new round. If epoch 5 was triggered during the round, the game is nearly over. You complete all the remaining actions, and you know, score the epoch as usual. Because at the end of each epoch, you do score epoch. Like you score, when you score epoch, you score points for your guild statuses that you have, any landscapes that you have, and then active regions. You score for each region that's occupied by either a ruler or a landscape tending serf. You know, remember I said you'd have one of these out there. You can place serfs on those to control those. You would you score those points at the end of the game, just like you score them at the end of each epoch, and then the final scoring, you get your epic voyage scoring, and then for a large empire, you do have a large empire scoring, which is for each outpost or farm or town that you control, you get victory points. For a feudum that you rule, you get 3 victory points, and 3 identical locations that you rule is worth 3 victory points. And then money is worth a little bit more, and then whatever royal writs that you've completed, you get those as well. You total up the normal points, obviously, and you just win. And if somehow you tie, which I don't think has happened, the player with the most sulfur left in your barrel is the winner. I guess, like, if you didn't get drunk, that's really good. So there you go. As I said, there is a lot going on with this game, and I probably forgot about 70 rules somewhere between here and there. And I tried. My plan wasn't to actually kind of get into that in depth, but I wanted you guys to have a pretty good idea of how the game works and as far as how the game flows. There's a lot going on in this one. I mean, I loved it. I loved it to death. This is. I'm always surprised when a game like this kind of comes out of left field, and it is like completely and totally embracing that heavy Euro feel, which I really, really, really enjoy. But let me talk about all of that in my final thoughts. All right, thanks for sitting through that rambling, stumbling, bambling, whatever that maybe you're accustomed to dealing with when it comes to me and my videos. If not, I apologize. That's probably not the best inference that you're going to have for me. But all right, so that's Feudum. And Feudum is a beast. It is a game that rewards those who will sit through it. Find the big juicy parts of it, figure these things out, and then work with that, and work with the game, and work with the other people playing, and then eventually, like, after you get through the process of playing the game, and once the game kind of clicks for you, it really, really rewards you, and it definitely rewards multiple plays. This is a game that you can't... Lots of games I can sit down and I can read the rules and I'll be like, that's how you play. This is not a game like that. You have to really have the board in front of you to just kind of see all the different interlocking parts, all the things that kind of work with each other for the game to be played, for you to really appreciate it and really kind of grasp it. And then it definitely is something that, like, my gamer group, we had to play a couple of turns of it before it really started to make sense, and before we really kind of figured out exactly what was going on. Mostly because of the very, very unique that push and pull different guild system, and figuring out the connections between the different things that you can do on the board that actually affect those different guilds, that that have that whole process involved. How do I get my, trying to figure out exactly, how do I go about getting my influence in those different spots? How do I go about, upgrading these things to do this? How do I get this vessel? It's all those things about a game when you're first diving into it, where it isn't... I'm going to fully admit to you, in my opinion, it isn't going to hold your hand for the game. A lot of times when you play a game like the strategies or whatever, are just going to be there. You're going to say, oh, I definitely obviously do this because it's going to be worth 11 victory points. Yeah, your actions in Feudum might be worth 11 victory points 2 turns from now when you can cash in on those, which is something that I really, really enjoyed. I am a big, big believer in having heavier, tougher games out there. And now I'm making this sound like it's, the next dominant species or something like that. No, I mean, there are definitely bigger, crunchier games out there. This isn't a D-Mocker or anything like that. You're not going to be befuddled. If you are familiar with strategy games, you are going to get, like, how this game is played, and it's going to be apparent to you. Like I said, first turn, second turn, you're going to be able to figure that out. What's the fun part about it is that I played this with a bunch of guys that we've got hundreds of Euro strategy games under our belts, and all of us were just perplexed in a fun way. In a very fun way, we were just perplexed and just like, what are we doing? Just kind of like trying to, and just kind of hammering away at the puzzle that was this game. And as difficult as that game was the first time we played it, we got done and we all kind of talked about the game for about 15-20 minutes. And then we reset it up and we played it again. And obviously the game was easier that second time, but I mean, it was just like, and then that second time was so rewarding because we now had uncovered that first layer of the onion, and we kind of had figured out exactly what we needed to do. And then then we had the fun of kind of messing with each other a little bit, screwing up, the resource commodities, the economic engine of all these different guilds that, kind of rely on each other, messing with that and screwing with that and kind of making it tough. And then add in the fact that you can just outright just attack other people and all those different things. I mean, it just has a lot going on. This is a game that I think if you are a Euro strategy lover, this is something that is like completely unlike really anything that I have played prior to this. It is, and I'm sure somebody's going to see it and say, oh, well, that mechanism is derivative of, you know, whatever, blah, 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 this game, whatever. And maybe it is. Maybe it is. And, it probably is. You know, but for me, this was an incredibly new level of experience. It had, like, it had that moment of freshness. And after I've played, you know, well over 1,000 games now, for me to actually find that in a game is astounding to me. It's just, you know, and that doesn't mean that these games, other games that I play and other games that I tell you about are bad, not by any means. But what I'm saying is that when I can find a game that actually, like, you know, gives me that, whoa, what is going on here type of reaction, like, and that's a good reaction, I get excited again, and to a level that, like, I remember when, like, 8-9 years ago, like, the first time somebody was like, oh yeah, this is Kingsburg, it's a worker placement game with dice. Worker place dice, I'll play dice, you know, that kind of thing. And I was like, all of a sudden, like, you know, I'm playing it and I'm like getting excited, I got that smile on my face, and I'm like, yes, let's figure this out, and I was having fun with it. That was me again with this game, and I guess I can't recommend it enough. It is a blast. It is beautiful. It's got a fantastic theme, you know, that kind of just ties everything together. It has high interactivity between you and the other players. It has that, you know, quintessential multiple paths to victory that everybody seems to want and love, and I do too. And it just, it has so many different working parts, so many different gears, so many different levers that I really don't see myself playing this the same way ever, the same way twice. I mean, it's just, I'm going to be wanting to experimenting with this game. I judge games by how many plays I can get out of them. I mean, if I can get 4, 5, 6 plays out of a game, I think that's a good game. But there's too many strategy games out there that after I played it twice, I'm like, well, I don't need to play that game anymore now. Because it's given me everything that I want. I'm an exploratory gamer. I love just testing different theories out, trying new stuff, trying to make different things happen. I love that aspect of playing games. And Feudum just, it feels like it's a Pandora's box of that thing that I'm looking for. Tons of exploration, tons of different ways that I can play, tons of ways I can try to play and win, not just play just to goof around and say, oh, what if I just took this action every single time? No, I mean, tons of different ways that I can try to plot a way to win and try to, you know, spin the game on its ear and spin my opponents on their ear as well, and do something new and fresh and fun with it. And I guess I can't really say enough positive things about it. This game is just a ton of fun. If you're looking for a fantastic Euro to put on your shelf and just have that game that, like, you're going to want to pull out and play, you know, probably, we realize now with so many games out and so many different things that are going on that, like, once a game gets played a certain amount of times, it sits on the shelf and it sits there and you never take it down again. This is a game for me that I'm going to be pulling down and I'm going to be playing, you know, on a repeated basis. This is something when I have my weekly game night, when we have time, it's going to be, let's play Feudum, let's play it again. And I just think the game is absolutely fantastic. So there you go. If you have any questions about it, ask away. I'll be happy to answer those as best as I can. Go check out the game on Board Game Geek. Go check out the game on the Kickstarter page. Read those rules. Check out the other different play videos, things like that, to get, you know, a firmer grasp on that. I apologize, like I said, like, I wanted to make it a small how to play thing, but man, you know, and that was me trying to be succinct, so I apologize for the length on there. But as always, thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. I really appreciate it. And until next time on The Undead Viking, I'm telling you to have yourself one heck of an awesome day. Alright, bye-bye.